average girls, average and owning it, average and owning it.
Okay. To the groom.
To the groom. To the groom. To the bride. To the bride. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Why Are You Watching This and or listening to this.
That's not what we're called.
That's not what we're called. Just kidding. Welcome to Average But Owning It, where we are average and doing okay.
Barely scraping by.
And we're barely scraping by, but we look good while we're doing it. You know what I'm saying, ladies? Okay. For the love of God, Haley, stop talking. Maddie's going to handle our hot take today, but first, Maddie, how are you today?
Good.
Okay, good.
How are you?
I'm great.
You know, I thought earlier this week that we do have an update about something, but either I don't remember or we don't have any updates.
Either of which are very possible.
I could have swore we had something, but we'll forget about it. Maybe I'll remember it like midway through the video or the recording.
That's usually how that happens.
And then I'll just shout it out.
Okay, yeah.
Is there anything?
I mean, merch has been in the talks, which I think is really funny.
This is true.
Does it have something to do with that, maybe?
No.
But our marketing manager, Mike Galasso, is handling that.
Don't worry about it.
Mike will get in charge of that, and he'll get with you guys on what the next steps look like. You see, so
yeah. More coming there.
Other than that, yeah. Now that we're on YouTube, which feels like a disaster to me, Maddie is very pro YouTube. She's very into it.
But that's because I watch a lot of YouTube, and I, for someone who is a podcaster, I'm not a big podcast person. I recently just got into podcasts.
I only like podcasts whenever I do
and
them.
I can only listen to like 3 podcasts.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why, so...
I'm picky too, though.
I would rather watch somebody. So that's why I'm pro YouTube.
Yeah, I guess it depends. Even though I think I'm very visual, so I don't know why I like podcasts better.
I don't know either.
Maybe because I can't focus.
I just like seeing people's faces and their expressions.
Well, we have pretty good faces.
Yeah, speak for yourself.
I will.
Okay, for our hot take today, we are going to be comparing some of Disney Channel's best original films.
I'm ready.
And I'm just going to kind of list some off and see which one we choose. We're not going to go crazy in depth about it.
But if I don't know some of them?
Then we'll replace it.
Okay. Because some of them are like I never watched.
Okay. So, first up we have Halloween Town.
Incredible, iconic.
And Xenon.
Oh, why would you pit those next to each other? Honestly, though, I would say Halloween Town.
Really?
Yes, it's classic. And I mean, of course, you can only watch it like one time a year, but I think that adds to the novelty.
Okay, I would say Xenon.
Really?
Yeah, because I like that you could watch Xenon 7 times in the same year, and it's still, like, so cool to me.
But I get excited about, like, annually watching Halloween Town. Still to this day as an adult.
Okay. The 13th Year.
Oh, good one.
And Smart House.
Oh, Smart House.
If you don't know what these are, she's too young for you, bro.
She's too young.
She's
far
too young.
No, definitely. I love the 13th Year. Also because whatever that actor's name was, I was real into him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Weirdo.
But yeah. But,
sure.
No, but Smart House was my fave. Wait a minute. Was it the same actor? No, I think
I just remember the guy who plays the main dude in Smart House. His name was Duncan, right?
Yes! Oh my god.
Yes. And I was like, who names their kid Duncan?
Yeah, that's ugly. Ben Cooper. Okay, well, I think it actually might have been the same guy.
Oh, no, his name was Ben Cooper. Oh, wait. 13th Year was Duncan. No.
Oh god, wait.
Whose name was Duncan? I don't know. I just remember thinking, Duncan as a first name. I'm so sorry if your name is Duncan out there. I'm not meaning to offend you.
Duncan, what are you doing?
But my sister and her boyfriend, when they had their first kid, she got to pick the first name and he got to pick the middle name.
Different actors.
She named him Oliver, and my sister's now fiance named his middle name Duncan. And all I could think about was what I thought was Smart House. I guess it's not. Anyways, he's Oliver Duncan.
Oliver Duncan.
Mm-hmm. And I grew up thinking Duncan was the weirdest name ever.
Because it is.
And it is, yeah. We don't have Dunkin' Donuts in Seattle, so I had no connotation to that.
Wait, I didn't.
I just thought it was a weird name.
I just don't like Dunkin'. It just sounds like.
I don't either.
It sounds like someone's gulping. That's what it sounds like.
Okay, Johnny Tsunami.
Okay, good one.
And Up and Away.
What's Up and Away?
You know the superhero movie? You don't remember Up and Away?
No.
It looks like that. No? Okay.
Oh, I
loved
do
Up, Up, and
remember.
Away.
I think I vaguely remember, but I don't
And
remember
their weakness was foil. Do you remember?
Wait.
Yeah.
Yes, I forgot about that.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I don't remember all enough though to say whether it was my favorite, and I take this very seriously.
Love both of those. So I'm glad we don't have to choose. Johnny Tsunami versus, do you remember Don't Look Under the Bed?
Oh, I love Don't Look Under the Bed. You didn't like it though because it scared you.
Yeah, it scarred me for a very, very long time.
Oh, I loved it. It really reminded me of how people can become evil and then become good. I love a good redemption story.
I don't even remember how it ends. I just remember, doesn't someone get egged?
Yeah.
I said it right too. I said egged, not egged.
I didn't. I wasn't anticipating you saying it wrong.
Okay, do you remember motocross?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. And Cadet Kelly.
Cadet Kelly, because I loved Hillary Duff.
Okay, I'm gonna go motocross.
Really?
I loved that movie. And that's when I was like, motocross is the coolest thing ever. And the girl with the really short hair. She was like the
I
main.
don't remember it well enough.
Okay. Anyways. Okay. Like 2 more.
Okay.
Oh gosh. I don't know. Okay, Cheetah Girls
Definitely.
or High School Musical. That's
Why did you do that?
For fun.
Oh, that hurts me. I would say Cheetah Girls only because I could still watch Cheetah Girls or High School Musical. Now I'm kind of like, maybe it's because I overplayed High School Musical.
Sure, yeah.
But, no, I love Together We Can. Together we got the radio, got a hurricane, if we wanna.
Yeah, that was
a good one.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I want to do so many more. Okay, Go Figure. Do you remember that? The ice skating movie?
I don't remember it well.
Okay, skip. Twitches
Good one.
and Jump In.
I loved Corbin Blue. I really did.
I loved Keke Palmer. Still do. I hate to say it. I do not know this man. Have you seen that?
No. No, it was funnier. I'm like, what the
Okay.
hell is she talking about? I'd probably say Twitches because Tia and Tamara, baby. Tia and Tamara.
Oh, by the way, Sister Sister is on Netflix.
It is.
I've been binging it.
Really?
Yes, it's so good. Also, there's a lot of adult humor and like adult references in that show.
I think there's a lot in a lot of different shows that we watch now.
Yeah, but I think it's stricter now because in one of the episodes, her mom literally holds lingerie up in the scene. They make a lot of like sexual jokes. They make a lot of like.
But it wasn't like for kids. It was like for like preteens, teens.
Still, I don't.
I mean,
know.
I watched it as a kid though, but
I
our
did
parents
too.
did not monitor us at all.
No, they didn't.
Flight attendant moms, you know, they were never home. They didn't care.
Okay, now this is getting. We'll do this as our last one.
Okay.
It's getting a little bit older, like when we were a little bit older.
Okay.
Let's do Camp Rock versus
I'm scared.
Lemonade Mouth.
Oh, okay. If I were watching it for the first time now, I would say Lemonade Mouth, but just because I was like, my prime was Camp Rock time, I want to say Camp Rock.
I don't think I've ever seen Lemonade Mouth, but I know
it's
everyone
good.
loves it.
It was real good.
So I'm gonna go Camp Rock on that, even though Camp Rock is
so
very
bad.
cringy.
No, it's real bad.
Like,
I want to learn how to
very-
do that thing where they're like marching and they're doing that Camp Rock. You know that thing? I want to learn how to do that.
No, you shouldn't.
It could be cool.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So lighthearted and not lighthearted. So we're gonna switch up our table talk today, and we're gonna talk about 2020 as a whole. There's a lot to talk about. 2020 has really kicked our asses. I'm speaking collectively. I am now the spokesperson for the nation. So here I am, your humble servant. We have lots to go over. I don't want to talk about COVID too much though.
Okay.
Just because, like, how much more are we going to talk about it?
Well, we have an update about COVID recently.
We do?
Yeah, we moved to phase 3.
I straight up didn't even know that. What's the difference?
Phase 3, face masks aren't required, social distancing
Anywhere?
is not in place anymore.
Is it just with Florida or with
Yeah.
everywhere? Okay, that makes me nervous though.
Me too.
Like, I don't know. It could be fine, but then didn't they do that before and then it just got worse?
Precisely.
I feel like that's just going to back and forth us forever.
I know. I agree.
I don't know, whatever. But So yeah, we'll talk about COVID a little bit. We got lots of stuff to talk about on the list of things that I have, and you tell me what you're thinking.
Okay.
And I don't really know how exactly we're going to go back and forth. I have a few reference things just because I think we need to talk about Ruth Bader Ginsburg a little bit because I love her.
Yeah.
COVID, we're going to talk about the election coming up because that's the scary time, and it's also the time that we all have to go home for Thanksgiving, which I think is terrible timing for everybody involved. Anyone that has to go home somewhere, if you have like a family divided, which I feel like most people do in one way or another,
Yes.
it's like the end of
I
the
feel
world.
like a lot of people do.
Yeah, my cousins and I were literally just texting in our group message the other day, and they were like, Haley, when do you come home next? And I was like, well, it's going to have to be after the election. There's no way I could come home before that. And they were like, yeah, probably good call. Because there's just no way. Our family is very, like, polar opposites.
I think my family, granted, I don't have a very big one. A majority, I don't know. Washington is the most liberal state. Besides, I think there's one more state that's categorized as
Like California?
more
Yeah, well, no,
liberal.
because California's split.
Yeah. Oh, Oregon. I think Oregon's the number one most liberal state.
Yeah, 'cause they got
and
Portland.
then Washington, yeah. So a lot of people in Washington, Seattle area are very liberal, but my family, I would say, I want to say they're like half and half. I think majority are a little bit more conservative. Yeah. But in my actual home, my sister's very liberal, and my mom is half and half. She like on certain policies, she's like, no, I definitely like lean right, and then on other ones, she's like, no, I lean left here. So it's weird.
Yeah.
It creates like a lot of opportunity for conversation because there's like we all don't think the same.
Yeah.
So that's kind of fun, but my mom and my sister just like butt heads a lot, so talking with them is interesting. I actually just got off FaceTime with them before coming here, talking about
They were
policy.
talking about it?
All three of us were talking about like policy and like
See, I wish and you guys were like civil about it?
I mean, my sister and my mom are both kind of passive towards each other, so there was some comments that were being made that I didn't like, but I act as like mediator most of the time.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that's not the point. You're just being rude. So like, what are you trying to say?
Yeah.
Like that's a lot of what my conversation is.
Wow, your family operates very differently than mine. I'm impressed by that.
Yeah.
Because there's just no possible way my family can have those conversations.
Yeah.
Everyone is just very set in their ways, myself included. Like, I know what I believe, and I'm not going to, like, back up from it, but everyone else from my family is the same way, so it ends up being, like, a fight all the time.
Yeah, I think...
Did I ever tell you about the time that I had to leave my cousin's confirmation party?
No.
Oh, my God. Okay, so those of you that grew up Catholic, you'll know what I'm talking about. There's your first confirmation, which is like you're officially a member of the Catholic Church. Yeah, it's like this whole big ordeal. So usually you have a confirmation party afterwards, depending on like, I guess, how Catholic your family is. Mine, very Catholic. So my cousin Marlene ended up getting confirmed, and so we had her confirmation party at her house. I remember this had to have been when I was like 15. So I think, I don't know, what year is that, 2013, 2012, something like that. I remember getting into a fight with my one uncle who is as conservative as it comes, like has a Trump like billboard in his yard kind of thing. And he and I mean, he butts heads with a lot of people in our family, but we got into a fight because he brought up, I remember he brought up something along the lines of, like, randomly with no context, had said, like, well, I just know that I will never be a fan of Obama if he's going to let a man marry another man in this country. Like, something ridiculous. I don't know what it was. It was just, like, random, and everybody was like, why? Like, why do you, for no good reason.
Right.
And me being 15, I was not, there was just no way. And I remember being mad because one of my, because Marlene had a boyfriend at the time who had family, or who had come to meet our family for the first time, and he like was very put off by that, and I just like I was just pissed off and embarrassed and whatever. We ended up getting into like a whole screaming battle, and like literally ruined the party. Like my grandfather left, like everything, like up in my face, like the whole ordeal. So my family's the opposite of that. There's like no peaceful conversation ever.
Yeah, I think my family's definitely gotten better about being at least trying to climb in the other person's shoes for like a second. Yeah. Be like, okay, I could see why you think that, but I still disagree. So it's like, we definitely have moments where we're like agreeing to disagree, but it's not usually like a scream battle about politics.
Yeah, it's never good.
But I also didn't grow up learning about politics. Like, I had to learn about it for myself. And so now that I know a lot more and I know why I believe what I believe, now I'm able to, like, facilitate the conversation.
Yeah.
Because my mom would probably never really bring it up.
Yeah.
And the only time she brings up anything political is when she's referring to the Bible.
Oh.
So that sparks a lot of interesting conversations, too. But it's funny when people, like, I just think, I don't know what I'm trying to say here. Actually, I do. When you don't have a diverse friend group, not in terms of, like, different races, even though that can play a part too, for sure, but whenever somebody says something like, I could never get behind a guy who would let two men marry each other, my first question is always, do you have any gay friends?
Right.
Like, do you love anyone who's gay?
Yeah, probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Or, like, and vice versa, whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
and love someone personally, because I hate when people are like, no, I know I would love them because they're people. But
yes, people just have
that's
such different perspectives when the things like gay rights, when that's being discussed, like, you have such a different view on it when you love somebody who's gay.
100%.
Or when you're able to, like, actually climb into somebody else's shoes that you really care about and think to yourself, how would one of my best friends respond to this? And how would me being for or against this policy would affect them? And that's with race. Even though I don't think race should be political, I don't think love should be political.
Right, yeah.
Like, there's just a lot of things that are intertwined in politics that, like, don't necessarily... it's so gray area sometimes with people, and it shouldn't be. It should be very straightforward.
Did I tell you the conversation that I had with my dad recently about that?
No.
About, oh my god. So my dad and I disagree on, let's just round it up to everything.
Okay.
And we did have a conversation because my dad and I bond over the NFL. We, like, watch, like, that's our best conversations is, like, when we're talking about football. Don't know why. He really wanted a son. Here we are. And the closest we'll get. But, oh, did you hear that?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was thunder.
It's like 95 and sunny.
Well, you know how it happens in Florida. Could be anything. Anyways, so we disagree about literally everything except for the NFL. We're on the phone, and he said, hey, I have bad news. I'm not going to be watching the NFL this year because he's protesting about the protests, essentially. So we ended up having a conversation that I would lean was actually probably almost more constructive than anything, which is surprising because normally it's like I end up crying and I'll leave. Like, it just is overwhelming.
Not ever good, yeah.
And we had a little bit better of a conversation this time, but it definitely wasn't awesome. And there was I think the part that is really hard for me whenever it comes to him or talking with people that have other opinions in general. Well, okay, I'll say that have, like, destructive opinions about things that matter to my job as a social worker. Like, just because I feel like I'm knee deep in it all the time. Like, it's just in front of me. It just happens to be my job. So I see it all the time, and so whenever, like, I hate when people try to tell me about, like, what the people I deal with every day are like.
Yes.
I'm like, well, no. Like, this is my job. And I'm not saying that as, like, no, I know everything, because I definitely don't. But,
right. Like,
oh, this is what it's like. Like, my dad tried to say something along the lines of, like, Haley, they want to send social workers out there instead. That's blinking. Should that be blinking?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. With our luck, it would have stopped completely. But
he's like, they want to send social workers
out
there.
He's like, can you believe that? If they have some crazy criminal, they want to send a social worker. And I was like, yes. Like, I would honestly back that.
That's what I'm trained to do.
Exactly. And that's the thing, too, is, like, yes, I'd be all for, like, if law enforcement were trained to know how to appropriately handle, there's a lot of law enforcement that just straight up aren't trained and aren't prepared to go deal with a domestic violence situation.
Yeah.
And like, know how to de-escalate, where I do, or, like, some other trained professional might. And so I think they need to work in conjunction, whatever. So we ended up having a conversation that leaned that way and talked about that a little bit. So it wasn't terrible, but I ended up just towards the end just, like, crying as we were on the phone, because it's just so frustrating that, like, I know that he would back policies that would just straight up ruin the people who I love and, like, am giving my whole life for this job. Like, it would ruin their lives if some of these policies, like, ended up, if they got some of their welfare taken from them, like, they're homeless. Like, there's nothing, stuff. That's just obviously an example. But certain things where I'm like, you don't know what these people are dealing with, and like, I don't know how you can like say that you love someone and like care about them and then just want to strip funding from those communities. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Right.
So it was just so frustrating because I'm like, I'm your kid, and like, you want to make my life harder because you want to make the people who I love's life harder. Like, I love my students, and the fact that you like hate them so much that you want to take from their communities is so frustrating to me.
Right. I agree more with my dad than my mom, but my dad's also in a position where he's around a lot of people that are affected by
Policy.
everything that we could, run down the list.
Right.
And my mom always like references the Bible and always references like Christianity as being like the pathway that like shapes her life, right? And so do I. And it's just funny because my dad's that way too. He's like, everything he does, he's like, I want it to be Holy Spirit led, like I want to do
you can
whatever.
do that so differently is the thing.
That's what I'm saying. There's a very clear difference of the way that my mom views that lens. And it can almost sometimes come off a little judgmental in certain areas that A, can be ignorance, and B, just like lack of perspective or lack of like knowledge or people that have been in those types of situations. And my dad's pulling from the same things, but going about it in like very different ways. So it's just funny how like your guideline for your life can be pulled from the same area, and that comes about in so many different ways and shapes and forms, even though you're pulling it from the same thing. Like,
no, it's very bizarre.
It's very weird. There's a lot of like gray area.
There's 100% a lot of gray area. And I think it also made it harder too now that we have Biden, because people are so split on him in general. Which I guess was the same whenever it came to the 2016 election too. You either loved Hillary or you hated her and like wanted to see her burn or not. Like it just depends. But it's frustrating to me too, and I wish that like, and I know anybody could say this, but it's like, I don't know, it's especially in election years, it always just feels like the system is just so much bigger than us, because they're the two most hated people in the country always end up being the two that we have to pick from, and like, how the hell does that happen?
Do you think it's money?
Yeah, oh my god, it all comes down to money. I mean, they both have ridiculous amounts of money. I hate both of them, I really do. And I hate the idea of like picking between the lesser of two evils.
Right, I do too.
Hate that.
And that's why it does come down to researching what policy you actually agree with, because at the end of the day, like, you're not voting for personality, you're voting for policy.
Yeah.
Because, like, the policies that we're voting for are going to outlive whoever's, like, in president, or whoever is the president. And it's like, if you lean right or left, I'll respect either side. I'm at the point in my life where I'm like, I get certain things on both sides, and I really don't get certain things on both sides too. So I'm not gonna be the one pointing fingers. However, I don't understand the person or the people group that would like go out and buy Biden merch and like rep Biden like he's this incredible human. And I don't think a lot of people do. Whereas on the other side, people are like not even pro, being a conservative or being right. They're very pro-Trump. And that's what I can't get behind. Because I think a lot of people who are left aren't saying Biden's the savior of the world. He's incredible. He's going to do everything right. But I do think there's a big group of conservatives that are just very like, Trump is the best. He's God's chosen. Like, he's all this. And he's not a good person. I respect if you are whatever party you agree with. I just don't get the celebrating the people that are actually not very good people.
Not even close. I don't get, I almost could understand, like, okay, I have to settle and I have to choose him because I have conservative views. I get it. I don't get it.
Biden hat though.
Yeah, exactly.
If that's where I'm at.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's where I don't understand the line of like, if you're like, no, I really like him, or like, oh no, I really like, there is so much bullshit you probably just don't know. And I'm not saying that I'm like the expert on everything Trump has ever done, because you know what? There's probably a policy or two that I don't think ruined everything.
No,
but there's a lot that did. Like, there's a lot that just is like, and even whenever I was looking up different stuff that we're going to talk about in a second, about like different foreign affairs stuff and random stuff that I didn't really know about because it doesn't really affect our day to day, so it's like, is it really in the forefront of anyone's brain? like, took millions of dollars of funding from a humanitarian crisis. Like, why aren't we talking, like, just a bunch of bullshit where I'm like, what?
Right.
I can't.
And that's why it's hard, because I don't think any person is fully good or fully bad. Like, there's been certain things, I was talking to some of my coworkers, and they were like, Trump has done a lot for Black communities that people don't talk about, or like Hispanic communities that people don't talk about, and like pulled up articles and was like showing me all this stuff, and I was like, that's incredible. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Like, that's faulty on my part, because I'm for that.
What, do you remember what it was?
I would have to look it up or ask them what it is.
Yeah, because I'd be wary of that, honestly. Not because I'm just research can be skewed one way or the other.
Anything for that, if Trump is for that, I'm for.
Right.
You know what I mean? Even if it's not like this great huge thing, even if it's one step in the right direction, like I'm for that. Yeah, I'll take that. But then there's also things like he tried to take away certain rights for LGBTQ in the workplace. I'm not for that. Yeah. Like, so every time there's like back and forth.
And I think it's also true, so much of it depends on your state. Like, I think so much, and I know I even can do a better job of like knowing my state policies and like voting in your local elections too, because your federal elections only have so much to do with anything. Like, so much of it has to do. Some states really benefited from Trump's presidency, and then other states are
and I think
shitting the bed.
I think we attribute a lot of what's going on locally on like a national level when really they don't have any say in that, and it's us not being educated and informed enough on what we can dive into locally that we can change. And you know what I think that is a poor reflection of? Our education system. Why don't we know this?
I honestly wouldn't know anything besides what I've looked at myself. Why do we have to do
outside research? I think everybody should do that, and at a certain point, whether you're being taught something or not, to like look into it for yourself and understand why you believe what you believe or whatever. But why are education systems not doing like that? Seems very like low level obvious.
You should know about what's going on in your own state and like what affects the people in your state. And that's the thing, I think a lot of funding that goes towards like your state should stay that way, and that's probably where it almost doesn't even look like I'm super liberal in that area, because I feel like states should handle more than like federal government, only because your state is going to be better at knowing the needs of its people. Certain people have but
every state is just different.
Every state is different, and funding should go towards different humanitarian needs in different states. Like it just depends.
I'm a little disappointed on that front of education. Because
I'm disappointed about a lot of things.
As a country that prides itself on being a democracy and having people's votes and being able to like have control and freedom of speech and like all this stuff, they don't really teach us how to exercise why or how to have those freedoms. And like, why are we so pro all of that, but then we don't push anyone to understand it?
I want to know if there's certain states that do that better than others, and like
I don't know if it's just my private Christian school that I grew up in.
I don't know either.
Didn't do a good job of that, or everything I'm saying is from personal experience. It's not. I don't know anything.
I'm wondering if there's certain, and this is like a genuine question. I don't know if there's certain states that like really advertise whenever they have state elections and like have ways for the community to get involved. They know whenever their town hall meetings are. They know when they should be voting or whatever. Where I don't know if certain states or even counties like do that differently. Where like I want to know if there's like a model that certain states use that other states or counties could be doing, because that probably makes all the difference too.
There's just so much.
There's a lot. Let me look at my other stuff that I would have. Oh, Kamala Harris. I want to discuss this woman.
Okay.
At first I was very pro, and then I heard some cons.
I know, I'm in the same boat.
I don't know what to do. Granted, is there anything that I can do? Probably not, but I'm for her in a lot of ways. She's a state prosecutor, and that stresses me out, because she's already benefited from mass incarceration.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I don't like it either. I don't know. It has its pros and its cons. I guess everybody does, especially if you're talking from like big government standpoints, which I'm not super into. But oh my gosh, one of my TikToks. We're back to TikToks again. One of my new favorite TikToks is this one girl. Do you know that one like Paramore song that people are using for TikToks? It's like
I saw
and all I wanted was you. That part. Yes. I'm glad you took it away.
I love Paramore.
Honestly?
I love Paramore.
Ooh.
If I could go to a Paramore concert right now,
Ooh.
I 1000% would.
Actually, that would go hard.
I know all of their songs.
Do you
Every single one. Yes.
Okay, Maddie surprises me with facts like this all the time. Like, I would have never known that she was, like, real into Paramore.
Yes, it's because when I was younger, I was in like 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, and my sister was in like her last few years of high school, and I would ride to school with her every single day. So I listened to whatever she listened to. That's why I love Lil Wayne and know every single Lil Wayne song. This is why I love Paramore. This is why I used to listen to Screamo. My sister literally likes every single music genre.
I was just gonna say, it doesn't. Like,
I know
Lil Wayne
every
and-
old like R&B, like.
How?
She just hit all of the genres. So
I have
Allie, I love you.
I have
Yes.
Allie to blame for you putting on crappy music in the car.
Oh.
Oh.
What Allie didn't play, because she did have some music
I'll
taste.
kill her. She's gonna do it. I know she's going to. Go ahead, go right for the throat. Do it.
Taylor Swift.
Uh-huh.
Actually,
I know exactly what you're gonna say next.
I don't even know. Ben Rector.
Maddie thinks that my
Ben
music taste.
Rector.
That's a good one.
He did.
That was a good one.
Thank you.
Maddie thinks my music taste is strictly Ben Rector and Taylor Swift is the only thing I listen to.
Well, that's
Granted,
the
Taylor
vibe.
Swift the past couple months, yes, the only thing I listen to. Okay. Anyways, let's move on. Let's not fight each other. Let's fight racism, shall we?
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Actually, I don't have anything more on that. Except
On
Breonna
Kamala?
Taylor. That just happened. The whole indictment. I know. Do you have anything you'd like to add to that besides just how pissed and sad?
I just think we failed.
Yep.
And I don't. Certain people's arguments, which granted I see a lot of this on social media, and anyone can say anything on social media, so whether you're educated or you were dumb, you still get to have an opinion.
Yeah.
Which, whatever. I just see a lot of people fighting back about certain things, about who Breonna Taylor was and what she was involved with, and all this crap that literally doesn't matter.
Doesn't mean a thing, yeah.
About the case at all. If you got killed and somebody brought out all your dirty laundry, if you were wrongfully killed, you're still wrongfully killed. It
Yep.
doesn't matter. All of us probably have done something that could have been blasted on the news and be like, they're a crappy person.
Yeah. No, I think
It's not about that.
I know.
It's not about any of that. And a lot of that is misinformation too.
Right. No, yeah.
A lot of what people believe are just, you can get your information from anywhere you want to, so whoever's opinion you're listening to, which half the time it's just a Google search in the first blog post that you click on.
Right, yeah.
Like, who are they?
Yeah. If you type in it's Breonna Taylor's fault, you're going to get a response. And if you put Breonna Taylor's innocent, you're going to get
you're going to feed
articles.
whatever bias or opinion you already have, and you're going to look for sources that also support that
Right.
on both sides. But
sure.
there's certain parts that are just facts that people aren't actually listening or paying attention to, which is
Right.
really frustrating. And yeah, I think that if that was your friend and you knew her, again, it comes back to this, like, can you climb in someone's shoes
Yeah.
and like take on a perspective that maybe isn't yours or is outside of your worldview or
Yeah.
the way that you grew up. I think we would handle these situations a lot differently.
Well, it's just annoying to me because none of these people planned on being martyrs in the first place. Like, they weren't living lives planning that, like, this was going to be their legacy of any. And the fact that,
didn't
like,
even know.
I don't care. This also goes back to whenever people were trying to say, like, George Floyd was not a martyr. He was on fentanyl and all this stuff, like, whenever he died. Pisses me off to my core just because if you know addicts at all, if you have any addicts in your family, if you've ever loved anyone that's addicted to anything. My mom's in recovery, and I have a lot of family that's in recovery or off and on in recovery, and if they were high and they got shot, I'd still be pissed. Like, I don't care.
Right.
I don't care if my mom is high as a kite.
Right. The
I don't care.
disagreement isn't whether or not that's a good or bad thing.
Right.
The issue is if you're wrongfully shot or wrongfully killed or you have a knee to your neck for 12 minutes, it's still wrong.
Right.
And I just don't understand the view that, like, oh, let's dig up who they were, their criminal record.
Yeah.
If that is what determines if someone should live or die, like, my family would be dead.
Yep. And it's
so
for the
would I.
basic law and, like, the party that is aligned with law and order being the right, that kind of, like, uses that. I don't understand the blatant disregard for, like, the Supreme Court ruling of no-knock warrants. Like, that's a Supreme Court ruling that you didn't follow.
Yes.
And, like, that's law and order. Like,
right.
law and order.
Outside of everything else. And I think issues like that, or I guess the, like, missteps or the, like, how is her family paid off for wrongful murder? Mm-hmm. And they initiate all of these things for no-knock warrants, and like they make all of this change for how do you pay off somebody for a wrongful murder and then not actually identify who murdered who, and they get a sentence for that.
And I read some comment that was like on Facebook, which I know I shouldn't have even gone because I knew I was going to get myself pissed, but there was somebody that commented like, they got, I think it was like $12 million that they got in the wrongful death suit. They're like, their family got this much money. Like, I don't know why they still have anything to say. Like, they're living big now, which literally boiled my blood, because if they would have just taken that money and shut up about it, somebody would have said something about that too. Of like, oh, clearly these people don't even care.
And like, sure, the money might help in some areas, but that's their daughter's.
Yeah, I guarantee they would give it back. Like, I guarantee that they would give all of that money back and then some if their daughter was still here.
Yeah. I think people are arguing about the wrong things.
Yeah.
Like,
no, I think so too.
They would rather just push back instead of have any decency for empathy or care about people that are actually affected by this and the things that go into it. Mm-hmm. I just think our perspective and our focus is completely wrong. Mm-hmm. Or a lot of people's focus is completely wrong, and that makes me really sad, because a lot of people are like, my job, I'm called to love, I'm called to do all these things.
Shut up.
You don't have any empathy for families that are affected or the cases that make up all of this stuff. And I just, how can you do everything in the name of love and then fail to love the person next to you?
Yep.
That's what boils my blood.
No, that is...
You can't commission your whole life to be under one thing. Is to love your neighbor as yourself, whatever.
I also want to say before we get into...
You don't.
Oh, sorry. Did I cut you off?
No.
Okay. You got loop in your hair is bothering me. The other thing I was going to say that I meant to say in the beginning, I also am really big, especially now, like with the world the way that it is, about like making sure that you have good boundaries with social media in general, because I know like I'm caught between that weird spot of like it's the 21st century, you have all of the information that you could ever need at your fingertips all the time, versus like you also need to protect your brain, and there's like a lot of bad news, and like you aren't responsible for knowing everything. Yeah, exactly. You can't retain that much information, and that's going to affect you if you're reading about like 4 different genocides that are going on at the same time, which right now there are. But if you were to like sit there and read about all of that, yes, you'd be so informed, but you'd also probably be so burdened and just like, it's depressing. It's way too much information. So should we do a coping skill now?
Yeah.
Okay. So in between all of the bad news, I just remembered that we had to do this, but we could do all of it now, or we could wait.
I don't care.
Okay, so we're going to throw in a couple coping skills because you're talking to a social worker. So this is, I'm going to do my favorite grounding exercise right now with Maddie. We're practicing. So feel free to do it with us or just keep it in your back pocket.
Yeah.
Add it for a little bit later.
I think with all of what we're talking about, a lot of white people or non-people of color can kind of read all of this stuff and digest it a little bit differently. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of our friends and a lot of people that we love that don't get that luxury. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it could be so, and I know it is so traumatic to like, I'm actually getting kind of emotional.
No, I get it. I actually was surprised I didn't cry about Breonna Taylor a second ago, so hold on. Brief intermission.
Oh, we should do some techniques.
Oh yeah, I guess we could do that right now. This is actually good timing. Perfect. Okay, keep crying.
But there's a lot of people that like don't get to digest this the same way, and like, I just think it would be so traumatic for other people to like read about people that look like you all the time. Like, yeah, that's so scary.
It's a very different experience. Oh. Yeah, and it can be like, as someone who's white reading about all of this, it's already so like anxiety producing, but then I can only imagine if it's like also it's you're reading about it and you're mourning it, and then it's also your daily reality. And that goes for like a lot of different things, not, it kind of from so many angles, there's people that are hurt, and I think it can be really overwhelming. So we're going to do a little grounding technique. Now, you can find grounding techniques anywhere. You can find grounding techniques
It's way worse
anywhere.
than it's recorded.
I know.
On a camera.
And
Maddie,
Maddie also cries super easy, and then she looks like she's been crying all day when she cries once. So
yeah, I can't go back.
Yeah, no.
It's
you're
like
just
once
in.
my body cries, I just like have a tomato nose and like a really red face. Like everything swells up.
Actually, I'm the same way too. Okay, so you can get these online, but there's certain ways to do them. So please listen to me. I'm begging you because this makes all the difference. Okay. This first one is my favorite one, probably the most common one, but you want to do this while doing belly breaths. Do you know what belly breaths are, Maddie? You don't want to breathe through your diaphragm. A lot of people, or you do want to breathe through your diaphragm. I'm sorry. Terrible start to this. You want to breathe through your diaphragm. It's not your chest. You want to breathe through your belly. Most people don't do that because you don't want to have your belly distended during the day. But you want to practice doing a deep breath through your stomach. Yeah, like puff your stomach out as much as you can. Okay, so we're going to do these in between each one that we do, like a really, really long, slow one. So basically the thing about anxiety is that a lot of times you're going to make up worst case scenarios about things that aren't real. So you need to use your 5 senses to get out of your head and back into your body.
Yes.
And so you need to remind your body that you have 5 senses and get back into what's real, and you can see, feel, hear, smell.
This one's actually like the one I use most.
No, me too. It's my favorite one.
Yeah.
That's why we're going to do this one first. Okay. Name 5 things you can see. Now, the best thing you can do, sometimes you have to do them in your head and that works, but the best thing you can do is say them out loud to another person and describe them in detail. But if you don't, you can write them down, and if you can't write them down, then you can say them in your head and they'll help. But the most effective way is to say them out loud to someone else. Go.
Green chair.
Okay.
Books. Ring light. Stairs. Flower. Eucalyptus.
Sure. Why would you pick something out of all the things in this room that you don't know?
I don't know.
Now, you can leave it at that and just say those, 5 things that you see in front of you, or you can go into detail. So tell me about the books that are in front of you.
There's a dozen of them, and
Give me colors.
there's a purple one, a red one, a yellow one, a blue one, pink writing.
Okay. Yeah, you would count them. You could say the names of all of them, say them out loud, count the amount of letters are in each one, whatever you want to do that you can observe. Anything observable. Okay, 4 things that you can feel.
I can feel this table. I can feel your arm. I can feel my hair.
Okay.
I can feel my phone. And I can feel my mug.
Okay, so then something else you can do too if you have anything sensory around you that might make you feel any better. So this is in my office if I'm doing it with a student, I have stress balls or sensory tools or those sequence things that you can move. You might want to do those, or even if that is just twirling your hair so that you can feel it. Anything around you that you can get a sense of it and then feel it as much as you can. This is hard, this is how it feels under my fingertips, it's smooth, yeah, that kind of thing. Okay, deep breath. Okay. 3 things you can hear.
Your voice.
Okay, sorry.
That. Can I do that?
Uh-huh.
Everything's kind of quiet. The cup hitting the table.
Perfect. Again, you might want to add aids to that, so you can put on certain noises. You can put on, some people do the meditation hurts kind of stuff or whatever. So,
Okay.
2 things you can smell.
The coffee?
Mm-hmm.
My hair.
Okay, perfect. Also, you can add essential oils, the whole bit, whatever kind of thing. Even though Maddie's against essential oils, air freshener. You can put on a candle.
I'm not against them. I just don't think that they are as real as you do. But I think they smell good.
One thing you can taste.
My coffee.
Okay. You can put a hard candy in your mouth, gum, food, whatever, to get you back into your 5 senses. Take a couple deep breaths, and you should be a little bit more back to reality after that.
Yay!
Do you want to do another one, or should we
Let's do...
go back?
Let's do more stuff, and then
Okay.
we'll do another one to break up our...
Perfect. Okay, so let's talk about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, because I need to talk about it more.
Yes.
I'm hurt. I'm sad. I have a book in my office that's a thing that Emerson got me for graduation, a little RBG wisdom book, but then I also have 2 more upstairs because I have a problem.
And she just bought you that picture.
Yes.
I'm gonna get it.
Yes,
so
go get
if
it.
you're watching,
I'm so sad.
If you're watching, you'll be able to see this, and if you're listening, check out our YouTube so you can see.
This is for our future bathroom in our new house. Once we move at the end of the year, we're gonna get.
It has a whole
Has a whole thing about all of Ruth Bader Ginsburg's achievements.
Yes.
Which actually, can we just read them off? Because I think we
Off here?
Yeah.
Okay. Says Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Wow, maybe you should read this.
Okay.
Vivacious Supreme Court rock star and feminist icon. She was unstoppable from the start, excelling within a male-dominated field that was hostile towards women. Ruth graduated from law school first in her class, was the first female member of the Harvard Law Review, and later won tenure. Tenure? Mm-hmm. All while having children. She went on to found the ACLU's Women's Rights Project, for which she argued 6 landmark cases on gender equality. In 1980, Ruth was appointed to the Court of Appeals, and in 1993 became the second woman to serve on the U.S. Supreme Court, a position she held for 25 years and counting. Ruth has beat cancer twice, is a self-proclaimed flaming feminist litigator, and still works out with a trainer. And she got her period.
I'm sad. So, I love her so much.
I love this.
There's a lot to be said about Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
She's so cute.
Is so cute and the best, and I love her. But also now that puts in the whole issue of the Supreme Court nomination, which is actually a really big deal, and I wish that everyone knew about it because I feel like a lot of people don't.
Didn't Trump appoint somebody?
They're working on it now. I don't know if he's officially, and if he did, it would have been in the past day or two. But appointed a new I think he points out his nominee, but there's a list of who his potential nominees are. As of right now, the top one is Amy Coney Barrett, who she's on the very. Apparently, she's considered Justice Scalia. He died in 2016, the last election year. She is fundamentally his twin, they said, of has the exact same morals, and he was the most conservative of all of the
She's super
nominees.
conservative.
Very Catholic apparently, and I copy and pasted this because I wanted to get it accurate. There was in 2017 U.S. Senator Dianne Feinstein from California, who's a Democrat, said to Barrett at her 7th Circuit confirmation meeting, "You have a long history of believing that your religious beliefs should prevail. The dogma lives loudly within you," which is alarming, I think. She's Catholic, and this is not a Catholic country, so I'm a little nervous about that. She's very anti-abortion, which I'm not saying I am pro-abortion, because I'm not, but a lot of people are nervous about Roe v. Wade because of that, which, granted, if Roe v. Wade did somehow get overturned, depending on a lot of different factors, it still is up to states, which I think people forget. Your state still decides whether or not it's legal. Yeah. And so it's not like a one-size-fits-all, you will save the babies if that happens. That's not usually how it goes. So, I don't know. There's a lot to unpack there, but not a fan. Personally. But also, I kind of want to talk about this, and then I kind of don't, because I'm sort of sick to my stomach about it. Are you looking up Supreme Court justice?
No, I was looking up, there's an account called So You Want to Talk About Blank. Have you seen that?
No.
Oh, I'll definitely say that it is bias. There's biases that are presented on here, but if you don't know anything about anything, it's a good place to start, at least, to read about something and then maybe be okay, I need to look into this and see if I agree with this or whatever. But they just posted the other day, and I remember seeing it. So you want to talk about Amy Coney Barrett, and they kind of go through her stance on, her background a little bit, and then they go through her stance on access to health care, reproductive rights, racial discrimination, protections for the wealthy, the Second Amendment, and LGBTQ rights. So if you're curious about that,
did you look at what some of hers are?
I haven't read this. I looked at it, but I was at work and I was doing something, so I was like, I'll have to look back at that and kind of research a little bit more about her. But what you've talked about within the last few minutes is the gist of what I've heard about her as well. So
yeah, I'm nervous. All of them are in some vein very similar. Obviously, they're going to align more with a certain type of party.
And Trump is going to appoint or nominate a conservative
Right.
person.
The problem being, though, that I think is the issue is that Mitch McConnell did say that whenever Justice Scalia died, that they shouldn't have nominated another Supreme Court justice until the election year is over.
I know.
And now he's backpedaling.
That's apparently RBG's like dying wish was that she wouldn't get replaced.
Yeah,
until
I have that on
after
here.
the election.
My most fervent wish is that I will not be replaced until a new president is installed.
Yeah, which I feel like would make sense. Like, even if we're for, Trump or Biden, whoever you're for, I feel like you would replace that person after an election year because you don't know who's going to be in office, and obviously either person are going to nominate someone that shares their views, and it just makes more sense to nominate somebody that shares your views if you are in office and that's like your next 4 years.
Yeah.
So,
and if you have a majority of conservatives
and
in general, so much could get passed that isn't
there's
representative of the whole country.
I'm surprised that there isn't a rule on equal representation in terms of like nominating. Like that's really interesting to me.
Whenever they make it equal, I guess it's too often that they get deadlocked.
I guess, but I don't know. Our nation's pretty 50-50.
I don't know. It's I don't know. I really want to cry. If
Is
I
our
think about it
nation
for too long.
50-50?
I don't know. I don't know. Actually, I mean, I don't know if we have the information to actually know that.
Okay.
I mean, there might be like from the census might be able to tell us like basics, but I don't know if like everybody how accurate those can be,
Right.
And there's so many people that are in the middle of different things. Like I don't even consider I consider myself obviously a liberal, but not a Democrat.
Yeah. I'm kind of in the middle of a lot of things.
I'm not in the middle. I think if anything, I'm probably more extreme, but
You are. I lean a little left, but I'm not completely.
I'm like I think I mostly align like Green Party, but there's certain random things that I end up a little bit more middle ground, but not middle.
Sure.
I wouldn't say middle though.
I don't know. I'm still figuring out. I would say I definitely lean a little left though.
Yeah, I'd say you do. Because most things you and I agree on.
I think so too.
I can't think of anything that I'm like, oh, Maddie and I definitely completely disagree.
I think so too.
Yeah. Okay. One of the things that people talk about a lot that I have been very hesitant to look up because I had a feeling it was going to overwhelm me, and the more that I looked at it today, it definitely did. So we're not going to talk about it too much, only because that isn't what this whole podcast is about. We could make an entire podcast just about this, which we might at some point, but the civil war going on in Yemen, it's real sad.
It's very sad.
And it was another one of the things that really pissed me off because the Trump administration canceled tens of millions of dollars in humanitarian aid last month because they said that the rebels who are aligned with Iran are diverting and disrupting the aid. Not even exactly sure totally what that means because, again, this whole podcast isn't on that today. But, the World Health Organization has withdrawn with the funding for the World Health Organization has been withdrawn. And the purpose is to outsize the role in Yemen. So basically what's happening is like the biggest humanitarian crisis potentially ever, depending on how far this goes. But right now there are 20 million people who need help securing food alone. 10 million people are considered one step away from famine. 24 million are in need of humanitarian aid. Which is like the stupidest, largest number that's even imaginable.
Yeah.
I didn't even know, to be completely honest, where Yemen was. I didn't know like any more information than like the basics.
Yeah.
But it's the world's poorest Arab country. And there's a civil war that's been going on for the past 5 years. This has just been the most lethal year for them. So that's something that I don't think haven't talked enough about. But granted, it's another one of those things where I'm like, be careful about how much you research because you'll probably need to take a break and like, I don't know. I think there's so many terrible things you can't fully process and give everything the time that it deserves. Like, if I'm already thinking about so many terrible, awful things that are going on here, I'm not going to be able to give this as much effort and thought as it deserves.
Sure.
And I don't know, whatever. Not whatever, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I didn't really know about it either. And I think social media can be a really hard place to be, just because everything is always being plastered everywhere, and I think definitely like a lot of negative things happen on social media.
Yeah.
But a lot of things that I would also never know. Like, I'm not getting up every morning and watching the news like a lot of our parents or.
I don't have cable.
Whatever.
You think I can afford that?
Yeah, I don't have cable either.
Absolutely not.
I don't think.
Have we not seen the student debt in this country? I can't afford it.
Yeah, I don't have cable either. And even the news channels are, you know, depending on which one you watch, I don't know, whatever. So I'm not seeing a lot of coverage on a lot of things, you know.
And there's not a lot in general.
Yeah, and social media, like, at least Instagram-wise, you only see what you follow, usually. So, I don't know, Twitter and, like, other places that people are, like, using those social medias, I feel like get a broader spectrum of what's actually taking place. But I didn't know about any of this until I actually saw it on social media and people, like, sharing about it. So I was like...
Same, that's where I heard about it first.
Yeah, so I was like... Social media isn't doing everything wrong. There are some things that I just like really wouldn't know about if I didn't have social media.
No, 100%.
And it's so sad.
I know.
And awful.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why we would take funding away from that.
I'm gonna assume that there is some reason, and I'm not saying that like it must have been just because of xenophobia, even though I think it probably played a part? Yes.
But like, people dying.
Right.
Are people dying?
I don't know. I wish I knew. I really do.
Yeah.
Another thing that I did not know about until quite literally yesterday. I've seen before this kid from my high school like post about this on Twitter multiple times, but I was always like, oh, I don't know if I can handle that right now. I gotta wait until I can give it some effort. So I gave it some effort literally as of this morning. And this is another one of those things, and I saw somebody say something about this the other day, and it got me thinking, just because like people were saying it's hard to look back on like ancestors of this country and be like they were not as progressive as they should have been. Like they should have known that this was wrong. Even like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, there's certain things that people now are like that was not liberal enough, or like that didn't do its justice. But like we're slowly getting more progressive as time goes on, and we're making better choices for equality than we were then. Like, obviously we're not going to be the same as, like, Abe Lincoln. Like, Abe Lincoln was probably racist, you know, like, in one way or another, more than he would be today, but we have, you know, it just,
yes,
you know what I'm saying. But they were saying, like, there's going to be
I'm pretty sure he was.
No, he was, yeah.
Not probably.
No, he was. Our grandkids are probably going to look at us and be like, how did they not know about the humanitarian crisis in Yemen and do nothing about it? Or like,
right.
And they were saying like, our grandkids are going to get at us for not ethically buying or for like GMOs or random things that we probably should know. And this is one of those things where I was like, I hate that I know about this and there's nothing I can do about it, and it just doesn't, I don't know.
The hard thing for me too is a lot of things come down to money. Like GMOs. You get way more money because you get way bigger fruit and food and things that are like affected by, you know what I mean? Like everything comes down to the freaking dollar.
Yeah. No, it's true. It really does.
Even like fast fashion, you buy a bunch of stuff on Shein because it's cheap as heck.
Oh my god, Shein
is fast fashion.
No, I know that.
Oh.
Shein. It means Shein.
What did you?
Shein. I don't know.
Shein.
You're
like, oh yeah, I just bought this top from
Absolutely not.
SHEIN.
No, quite literally. You probably say that every whatever. There's so much thought.
But it just comes back to money. And it's like...
Yeah. No, it does. 100%.
When you zoom out of a lot of things, like if we could just take a bird's eye view to like a lot of things that we're doing and like actually putting money toward.
Yeah.
Even though...
Did you ever watch The Good Place?
I love The Good Place.
Okay. They realize that nobody... Spoiler, in case you haven't seen it. They realize that nobody's going to heaven anymore. Everyone's always going to the bad place because they don't realize how much everything they do affects everything else. And they were like, oh no, like she bought a tomato... And that was the example they gave. Like, she bought a tomato, but she didn't realize it had been farmed by, like, child labor, you know, in Mexico or whatever the situation was. And, like, everything we do has become so much more complicated now. Like, everything you do is somehow either a good or a bad thing for someone else.
Right. And how if you actually zoom out and trace it back to, like, the original thing, like child laborers, even though you bought this tomato out of maybe some level of ignorance, it at the root is still bad because it forced these little kids to be the one who is
It stresses out my morality brain.
Me too. That show actually, it made me think a lot about morals and like...
The new season is out today.
What? On Netflix? Mm-hmm. We were just I was just talking about this with somebody yesterday.
I was just thinking about it yesterday, weirdly. It's actually really good, even though it's kind of corny. I like it a lot. I didn't think I would like it.
Me either. I just kind of watched it on a whim. I like Kristen Bell though.
Me too. I want to go back though because I started to watch the first episode and I didn't remember anything about the season before. I just forgot everything. So I'm going to rewatch the last episode. Anyways, so all this to say, in China there's a huge genocide going on right now that I literally, that was my reaction. I didn't know anything about it, and he posted a live map and was like,
who's he?
A kid from my high school, TJ.
Oh.
He posted it and he was like, yeah, no one's talking about this. And I was like, he's right, I literally don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And so I went back and I started researching it, and it's so effing sad.
Really?
Yes, it's so bad. So there's...
What's going on?
Basically, there's a Muslim population in China that is being forced to go into these brainwashing camps that are set up. Beijing calls them vocational training centers, but apparently now they're being accused of crimes against humanity and genocide. So, Xinjiang, as I believe how you say it, is where all of this is happening, and they're sent. So police are investigating for extremism, is basically what I gathered. Mm-hmm. Then they're being taken into custody, and it's internment camps basically, and then they are being abused. There's women being forced to have sterilization procedures because they have the two-child law there, and if you have more than one child, they'll force sterilization.
I heard about that.
Yes, they have that, and so women, and they're not giving them any pain medication. They don't care. So you're getting this surgery, and then that's it.
Disgusting.
They're calling them re-education camps, but then they're being taken to coercive labor camps after that, and they're being forced to stay, and they're being imprisoned. They think over 1 million people so far. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's a...
Exactly. They're being investigated now, but people are also, they say that the whole time they were being forced to take pills and injections and not being told what they are, so we still don't know what they're being given. But yeah, that's what's happening. So basically, all of this to say, give to the Islamic Relief USA Foundation if you're interested, or if any of this piques your interest, because it's wild. I know, it's very sad, very dark, and there's a woman on one of the interviews that I watched that was just crying because she spent 2 months there. I don't even know how she got out. I couldn't finish it. I was crying watching it because it was just so sad, and it's the kind of sad where it's I don't know what to do about it, so I just can't. It's just too much.
Gosh, yeah, I have to look into that a little bit more. I saw a little bit of information about it.
Why is
that is awful.
Yeah, no, it's completely terrible.
That is so scary.
Mm-hmm.
Who's investigating them?
The UN is looking into it too. And I think there was, and I don't remember actually. I'm not going to pretend
like I remember. It's crazy that the lack of accountability in a way. Mm-hmm. If your government says it's lawful, and it's actually inhumane.
Yep. Well, it's Japanese internment camps. We didn't even know about those. Ugh. And so, and when we did know about them wasn't the reality until later, and then we still don't talk about it.
Yeah, it's true.
And your federal government just said it was fine, so it was. And even now,
yeah, there's a ton of things that were illegal.
But even now,
or legal,
immigrants
that were horrible.
Illegal immigrants now, the kids being held in cages. We didn't know about that until years later, and then we realized it was another humanitarian crisis. It's just a million things you can be sad about. That being said, we're going to do another grounding technique before we call it a day. So this one is a body awareness technique. Focuses on the here and now. That's another thing with anxiety is a lot of time travel, a little bit of going back, a little bit of going going forward. Going forth sounded formal. So again, you want to focus on sensations in the body. So first thing you're going to do for this one is take 5 very deep breaths through your nose. Yes, belly breaths. So she's going to keep doing them while I keep talking. Deep breaths through your nose, exhaled through puckered lips. So in through the nose, out through the mouth. Exactly. You can be as dramatic as you want. If you are watching, you can see Maddie.
Me dramatic?
Being very... No, this is good. You're doing it perfectly. Good job. Okay. Now, while you're doing it, you're going to want to place both feet flat on the floor. You're going to want to wiggle your toes. Feel the sensation in your toes while you wiggle each one. Then curl and uncurl them several times. I'm watching her feet and it's creepy. And then spend a long time noticing the sensations of your feet every time you move them. Okay. After you do that, you're going to stomp your feet on the ground several times.
Am I still breathing really heavy?
Yep. Pay attention to the sensations in your feet and legs as you make contact with the ground. And then what I like to do whenever I'm doing like deep breaths too is to think about the way that the breath is traveling through your body and going into each of your limbs. Okay, you can stop stomping now.
Okay.
Clench your hands into your fists and release tension. Repeat this 10 times. We won't do it 10 times, but just do it as much as you can. Pay attention to the breath in each of your fingers every time you do it. Press your palms together. Press them harder and hold that pose for 15 seconds. Pay attention to the feeling of tension in your hands and arms. Every place that you feel tension in your arm, breathe into it. Okay, now rub your palms together briskly. Notice the sound and then the warmth in between your hands. All right, reach your hands over your head like you're trying to reach the sky. Stretch like that for 5 seconds. Really deep breath, stretch up to your shoulders. I could be a yoga instructor. Bring your arms down and notice the feeling of tension. You don't have to go that far down. Just down to normal would be fine.
I'm embarrassed.
Okay, now take 5 really deep breaths. Okay, and then last thing, so your vagus nerve is right here in your chest. You can also open your eyes too.
You said 5.
Okay, sorry, just calm down.
Okay.
What if you just passed out?
I'm getting anxiety attacks me to reach 5.
You have your vagus nerve right here in your chest. So what you're going to do is knock on it, and then you're going to hum at the same time.
I feel like I've never seen Wolf of Wall Street, but I know they do that.
They do that?
They do something
Oh,
like,
I know.
he does some sort of chant that people do.
Oh, I didn't know that. So your vagus nerve is for your stress response, and it's directly related to your nervous system. Okay, you don't have to keep going. So do it for as long as you need. Take some really deep breaths while you're doing it, and that's going to stimulate your vagus nerve.
What does your vagus nerve do? Makes you happy?
It's related to your stress response and your nervous
Oh, I
system.
wasn't listening.
Oh, okay. And it's going to relax that nerve a little bit. So,
Oh, I'm going to use this one later. I like it.
no, I like it too. It feels good.
I feel good after.
So you feel good?
Yeah.
Okay, so everybody.
It's crazy how much there is to do for your anxiety that I don't do.
Yeah. No, I learned that too.
Yeah.
I learned that after I stopped having panic attacks.
It takes a lot more effort to do those things than to just spiral down.
I would much rather spiral, but I do also want to
It's
feel
just
better.
easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just depends on how much you want to feel better, I guess.
Yeah. But I have watched all of these techniques like work in real time, and it's really awesome to watch. So definitely try it. It's not going to work, and some people are like very different. Some of these might work for you, and then some of them might not, and so you might have to do some trial and error. But we're going to do a couple more moving forward in our lives too. So
Yeah.
we'll keep learning. It's
You
going
might
to be a
see
good
more
time.
of these later.
Okay, cool. So that's what we have for you all. Hope you had a grand old time having a 2020 panic attack.
Oh.
We're all making through this. What? We're all making it through this together. It's gonna be a trying time, but
I
everybody.
wonder in like 30 years, us looking back on 2020, I know that we know it's crazy right now, but how much crazier are we going to realize that we literally wore masks everywhere for months and like quarantined in a house alone?
Yeah, it's gonna be a weird time. It really will.
That's super weird.
I know, it's very weird. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. Do some things. Wash your sheets. You probably need to wash your bed
and
sheets.
your pillowcases too. Did I say pillow? Sorry.
You did. I was actually gonna.
Pillowcases too.
you.
Wash your pillowcases so you don't have more acne.
Wash your face. Definitely wash your face and
Girl,
clean your
wash
mask.
your face.
Clean your mask.
I knew that. 'Cause
Drink a lot of water. What else are we forgetting? When your body's in a stress response, you get dehydrated and you lose part of your ability to recognize that you're thirsty. So drink a lot of water.
and get some fresh air.
Get some fresh air.
Use these techniques. Also, I think it would be cool. I'm telling Haley this now, but you guys are going to listen to it when it's out. We should put like a open discussion commenting thing on some of the topics that we talked about. So if you guys have any feedback or opinions or things you want to hear about moving
Things
forward,
we messed up.
yeah, or things you disagree with that we said, or
And then I'll delete them.
want to inform us on something that maybe we misstepped on.
Please do.
Yeah, we welcome all the conversation. So
Unless it's critique, and then keep it to yourself.
okay, if it's critique, send it to me. If it's compliments, send it to Haley.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Well, we're gonna press bye on here, but you get the extra minute.
Oh yeah, you get the extra little
Something.
The extra little toodaloo. I think I had a double chin in that.
I hope you did.
Average and